The Fargo Five. I'm Conrad Fargo. This is the city of ice and fire north of Normal, and we are going to find out all about the real people who live here, one person at a time. We've got Rhonda Gilbertson Evans from Full Circle Open Mic at Black Coffee and Waffles Bar. Hello, Rhonda.
Good morning, Fargo.
So, Rhonda, you are from the Midwest originally.
Yes.
And then you went to New York City.
Yes. So I was raised for my first 18 years in Pelican Rapids. And then when I went to college, I spent 2.5 years there and then moved to Taiwan first.
Taiwan?
Yeah, lived in Taipei and taught English for preschool children.
Oh, that's very cool. And where did you learn any of the language while you were there? Can you speak? What do they speak over there?
Mandarin Chinese
Okay.
primarily. There are elderly people from the island that do continue to speak Taiwanese, which is a legitimate language on its own. I didn't delve into that at all. I speak the level of Mandarin that a 1 to 3 year old toddler. No, because that's who I taught.
Just enough to order a beer.
Well, that to tell you
Ask where the
bad things, yeah, because you learn that right away.
That's the first thing we always learn is the dirty words.
Yep.
It's funny how that works.
I learned those at the Tokyo airport before I even got to Taipei.
Shit. Oh, very good. And they're like, all right, you're going to Taipei.
Yep.
Here's what you need to know.
Right
very
on.
Good. Very good. And then, so you went to there. I'm sorry. It was so.
Went to Taiwan.
Yes.
Came back for a year. Graduated
Back to the Midwest. You
from
graduated
Morehead
MSUM.
State.
You're a dragon.
I'm a dragon.
Just like me, yeah.
Kinda. For 1 year, I was a dragon. Then I went to a place called Pelham, New York, which is very she right out of New York City, 30 minutes.
Okay.
So it's a suburb, and I lived there, and I was a nanny for 2 years.
What are the suburbs in New York City? I mean, are they like this? When I think of suburbs, my experience is just in Fargo. So you've got like new construction builds, but when they say, it's all connected.
It's all connected, but it turns from apartment complexes to multifamily homes to single-family homes. Like it makes that progression.
Yeah.
And then mansions.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The very, very, very wealthy.
Yes.
Yes. But are there, is there affordable housing out in the burbs at all? Or is it all it's all.
Oh, no. I think in 1980s money, I paid like $650 to live in a tiny little efficiency apartment.
In the suburbs?
In the suburbs.
Not even in New York City.
But on the wrong side of the tracks in the suburbs, on the working class side of the tracks.
Wow.
Because I was a social worker in the city and I took the train every day.
And that's what, and I've been told. So I've only lived in two places, Fargo and Japan. And so Japan is definitely different because the streets are all like 1,000 years old and there's no grid at all. Fargo, what I've been told is different about it is that our zoning is a little different in that you've got your residential and then around the residential. So you were describing how it's like a gradation, right? From apartments to whatever, to the houses at the end. We make these bubbles in Fargo where like every housing place is surrounded by twin homes, which is surrounded by apartments, which is surrounded by commercial.
Right.
And we've got little bubbles everywhere. So that's different from what you're explaining in New York City.
It happens a little bit. The closer you get to the water, the more expensive and larger the real estate. So the closer you get to Long Island Sound, the better, or the bigger anyway, the houses, and also very old as you get into Connecticut.
So being a nanny in the burbs of New York wasn't for
Nightmare.
You're like, let's go back to Fargo.
I worked for 15 years as a social worker and teacher for the deafblind in New York City proper. And then I came back to Fargo to marry the boy next door. And literally lived 3 blocks from me. So
from where you were
from where I'm from, Pelican Rapids.
Oh wow!
Small town couple. Yeah.
And you had dated before, or
no?
Okay.
Weren't even friends, but we're friends with all the same people in a tiny high school.
Isn't it crazy how the roads lead back?
It's insanity how that happened. Yeah, I sat next to him on a bar stool, and I was like, hey, I remember you, and we're friends with all the same people, so let's hang out.
And then you've since retired.
I have. Due to my own disabling condition, I have
You were telling me a little bit about lupus. Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is something, I think lupus is one of those where it's really tough to diagnose. I think a lot of people, perhaps even rightly or wrongly, self-diagnose with lupus. It sounds, from what you were telling me, like you've actually had doctors look you in the eyes and be like, you have 6 months to live.
Yes.
Wow.
That happened on 3 occasions. I don't place too much emphasis on that, however, just because I'm going to be 54. So the first time they told me that I was 16, then 27, then 32, and then I said,
enough
cut
of
it
this.
out. You're just planting negative energy into the universe. And I just said, I can achieve more than you think I can.
And so you're retired now.
Yeah.
But you're hosting open mic nights.
Yeah. So 2 hours a week.
Yeah. When we're going to talk about the open mic night, but what I'd like to know is what was the transition from there? Where did that idea, what was the beginning? Is that a continuation of something else? You said you're a performer of sorts.
Yeah, I'm a spoken word artist. So I started
when did that
out
start?
as a creative writer.
Okay.
Just like journaling and stuff like that.
And this was back in New York or your whole life, or you've just always been a creative writer?
And then 12 years ago or 14 years ago, I stood up at the Red Raven Coffee House and just sort of said, this is what it is. I cried for 15 minutes or whatever it was.
On stage?
First.
Oh, no.
Yeah, for sure. Just stood there and bawled, and they just said, take your time, you'll go when you're ready. And I've just been performing ever since, and I am kind of starting to take it on the road a little bit.
Oh,
My
wow.
performances are growing. I did Fargo's Juneteenth.
When you said you have a podcast as well, or at least you did,
Yeah.
with the love of your life, The Boy Next Door.
Yep.
You guys started a podcast called I Married the Boy
Evans
Next
Boulevard.
Door. Oh, okay. No, it's called Evans Boulevard.
Yep.
Okay.
And we just have a couple episodes loaded that kind of talked about a traumatic experience when I got critically ill recently.
Yeah.
But we're about ready. I told them when the snow falls again, we're going to hit it hard.
Yeah, and
so
you just
we're
do that
fitting
out of your home, or what?
Situation.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And so you're a performing artist. You've got your podcast. You've got, you like to get up on stage and do the spoken word performances. When did the idea of, hey, let's partner with Black Coffee and Waffles, or what's that relationship like? How did you set that up with, or how did you meet them? How did you get to?
I first was working with an existing manager over there that was like, let's do something entertainment every week, every Wednesday, every Friday, whatever.
This was your idea.
Well, kind of our joint idea when I went and had coffee with someone else.
Okay.
And I got talking to this person. Anyway, I work now with Darian Anderson. She is the manager at Black Coffee and Waffle. And Full Circle Open Mic was somebody else's moniker. They had it there previously and hung it up for whatever reason. So now I'm working with my husband as my sound guy. And we're just doing this little open mic, but we're welcoming anybody, any verbal slayers in Fargo
How did you come by grabbing that moniker? Is that something where the other manager said, well, this is how it was branded before, so why don't you just spin that back up?
They just kind of said, spin it back out there, and I said, okay.
No, the manager or the person who was doing it before?
The manager.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't really know the person who did it before, but they had a very nice following. I don't know if any of our performers were part of the previous organization, but we're having a good time.
Yeah.
People, I have poets that don't consider themselves maybe spoken word artists. They just want to say some words. We've got kids who have done jokes.
Yeah. Well, we'll do is we're going to take our little break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, I want to hear all about the actual event itself and what it's going to be like.
Perfect.
So we're going to take that break and come back with Fargo Fun. So don't go nowhere.